Climate Watch, a tour company, is planning to donate $1 million of its profits in an effort to offset the environmental impact from its travelers. The travel TV host and tour company owner Rick Steves made the announcement on Twitter last week, saying, quote, "We think we should pay for the impact all those flights have on our environment, and until our government requires us to do so, we're doing so voluntarily." Rick joins me now from Edmonds, Washington, to explain the move. Hi, Rick. Thank you so much for being with us. First off,
thank you.
If you could explain what this self-imposed carbon tax is exactly and where the money is going.
Well, it's not heroic. It's just ethical, in my estimate. I wish our government imposed this tax on us because, frankly, as a tour organizer, I'm making more money than I should when I take 30,000 people to Europe on a Rick Steves tour every year. Because experts say if we would dedicate $30 per traveler from the United States to Europe and back, those travelers could mitigate how they contribute to climate change with the carbon that their flying causes. And what we're doing is just multiplying the 30,000 people that travel on our tours by $30, rounding it up to $1 million, and finding 11 organizations to support with our climate smart commitment. And then we are traveling with the peace of mind and ethics, frankly, of mitigating the carbon we create. I don't like not flying or not traveling because of climate change, but I think it is ethical for us to create as much good as we create bad when we travel, and then we can essentially travel in a way that's carbon neutral.
And so tell us how you found these organizations you decided to donate your self-imposed carbon tax to.
Well, there are different ways that travel companies can help their clientele travel in a carbon neutral way. I think the conventional way is by buying carbon offsets. But I've traveled enough to know that climate change hurts the poorest people in the poorest countries the most. So what I want to do is have an innovative way to help people in the developing world live their lives and feed their families in a way that contributes less to climate change, because they contribute a lot just like we do in the first world. So what we're doing is promoting a new concept called climate smart agriculture. And this helps farmers in the developing world do their work while contributing less to climate change. And there's lots of organizations that are into this now. And we had 50 different organizations submit requests for these grants, and we chose what we thought were the 11 best based on the parameters that we set. With our $1 million, we want to not help people in the poor world deal with the impact of climate change. That's worthwhile, that's beautiful, but other people are doing that. We want to raise awareness and fund and promote climate smart agriculture, which helps farmers in the developing world do their work while contributing less to the problem. We also want to dedicate about a quarter of our total to advocacy here in the United States with groups that are reminding our government how important it is that we get serious about this and join the family of nations in fighting climate change. So that is our parameters, and we're thrilled with the 11 organizations that we've chosen. And we're also really thrilled that our travelers can travel with this peace of mind of being carbon neutral. And it's our hope that we can inspire other travel companies to have this kind of ethics in their business, because the government's not going to make us be carbon neutral, but we as ethical business people can do our part, especially people that are in tourism like we are here at Rick Steves Europe.
But Rick, explain to our viewers how exactly travel and tourism impacts the environment. And if it's true that it does impact it negatively, shouldn't we be searching for systemic ways of changing the travel industry so that it doesn't have that negative impact?
Oh, I think it'd be wonderful if we travel in a way that has less of an impact. And there's lots of ways to do that. And all that is worthwhile. I'm not doing anything heroic here. I'm simply giving my company a self-imposed carbon tax designed to mitigate the carbon that we put into the environment when we travel to Europe and back. And that's what we're doing with this Climate Smart initiative by supporting climate smart agriculture and forestry in the developing world. You can do all sorts of things. You could travel less if you wanted to, but I really think travel is a force for peace, and it's very important for Americans to get out there and get to know the other 96% of humanity. If we just stop traveling, I fear that we will be more of a problem instead of less of a problem. We need to empathize with what's going on in the rest of the world. We need to help the rest of the world inspire us We need to get to know the rest of the world. And this is why I'm committed to the value of travel. But I want to do it in a way that is ethical as a businessman. And again, I want my travelers to travel knowing that they're carbon neutral. This whole idea about climate smart agriculture is quite new, and it's quite exciting, and there's some low-hanging fruit where hardworking farmers in the developing world, people trying to live on $5 a day, can earn their livings and feed their families while contributing less to climate change. A very good example is having an efficient stove. Typically, the poorest people have a fire on the floor and no chimney, and they have to consume 2 or 3 times the amount of wood necessary if they had a smart stove. And if somebody is equipped with a smart stove and a little education, they can cut the deforestation problem in their country by 50% and still feed their families and have more time at home instead of more time walking for firewood. So this is all very exciting for me because it's kind of a twofer. It helps the developing world develop, and it helps the developing world develop in a way that contributes less to climate change. And it lets us travel in a way that we have the ethics and the peace of mind that with our flights we're going carbon neutral. Can we do more? Sure. Do we contribute to climate change when we travel? Yes. You can contribute to climate change when you get in your car and you drive to the grocery store. But we want to mitigate as much as we can so we can live our lives and enjoy our lives, and at the same time deal honestly and ethically with climate change.
What does it tell you that the governments are not regulating this and it's up to you, the business owner, to self-regulate when it comes to climate change?
Well, when you say governments, it's really mostly, I'm concerned about the United States. And I believe here in the United States, we're government by, for, and of the people via the corporations that we own. And the corporations that we own have a legal obligation to their stockholders to profit maximize in the short term. I'm a good businessman. I employ 100 people, and I don't want to profit maximize in the short term. I want to profit maximize in a sustainable way in the long term. So 50 years from now, we'll still be having a world that we can enjoy traveling in. So we need to, as individual business people, take a leadership role, and as citizens of this country, I think take a responsible role as we vote and choose our government to choose representatives that take an ethical approach to climate change rather than a short-term approach. It really is a problem when all of our decisions are based on short-term profit rather than sustainability and what are the impacts of this huge problem, especially on people south of the border who are struggling with the impact of climate change. I've just spent a month in Guatemala and Ethiopia producing a 1-hour TV show for public television called Hunger and Hope, Lessons Learned in Ethiopia and Guatemala. And I'll tell you, walking with farmers who are dealing with climate change in countries like Guatemala and Ethiopia, as an American business person in travel, I come home really determined to get real about the impact of climate change and to help our country be part of the family of nations when it comes to dealing with this.
Yes, but Rick, I just want to ask you, not all American business people are as motivated to deal with this as you are. So would you like to see the government step in more?
Immediately what I'm doing is I'm trying to challenge and inspire or shame other tour companies to take a hard look at this and how can they take the initiative right now to be climate smart in their business practices. At my website at ricksteves.com, in the climate section, we say, steal this program, don't credit Rick Steves, take it, change out the words, and own it yourself so you can incorporate that into your business. And I think you'll find, even if you don't care about the environment, that consumers will recognize and value the work of a tour company that is ethical in this regard. That's the short term, that's the business world. Again, as a citizen, yes, I believe our government should tax us for the carbon we emit. If we just had a tax built into our flights, that could mitigate it. And mitigation is mitigation. And I think that's a very important first step. But do we have the courage and the guts to do that at the expense of some short-term profit? It's going to be a choice that we make as a society, and it's the mark of the ethics of a society, the caliber of a society that cannot just profit maximize in the short term, but be wealthy and affluent, at the same time be sustainable.
Rick Steves, I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for your interest in this important topic, and happy travels.